Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you my simple application project about web scraping with Python. I'm using library like Request and BeautifulSoup. Then I'm using Flask as a web framework so we can run it easily. But before we start it, just to remind you this video is educational purpose only. So let's jump into it. First, we're gonna looking for a merchant in bukalapak.com that I'm already got in here. Then copy the merchant username. We can get it in URL, just copy the merchant username. Then we can go to our app. So let me run it first. Okay, it runs perfectly. So this is my app. I can pass the merchant username here and push the button to scrape. It will take a minute based on how much product data that merchant have, so we're just waiting for the scraping process to be done. And here we go. We got all the products data from the merchant. We got product name, we got image, we got price, rating, and etc. And we got all the data from the merchant. And we can easily download it as a CSV file right here. And basically, I'm using Bukalapak API that I got from merchant page request, and we can see the API request need a merchant ID and access token to request the data. And as we can see here, the API request needs a merchant ID and access token to request the data. So first thing that I do is to get the access token and merchant ID. Actually, we can get the access token from every Bukalapak page by looking on their source page. So we're going to see the source of bukalapak.com first and search for token. And we got token here. You can find it in the meta tag with the name attribute OAuth access token. So here we can parse and find the token from the value. So what I actually do here is to make a request from bukalapak.com, find a meta tag with attribute name OAuth token, and get the value from content attribute. And then the second thing is to get the merchant ID, but I got some problem accessing the merchant pack from Bukalapak desktop version. It gives me the 403 response, so I'm trying to request the mobile version in m.bukalapak.com, and it works. I can make a request from the page and find the merchant ID in their source code. And why I'm using JSON here is the merchant ID in the source code of mobile site stand in JSON structure inside the merchant pack app here. So I can get that ID by parsing the text to the JSON. And here, inside the accept tag, I'm doing this because I found There are two types of merchant in Bukalapak. First type is unofficial merchant that we scrap above, and the second type is official merchant that I'm trying to scrap here. The difference between both merchant is just a URL type. The official merchant didn't have the UA tag in their URL, so I have to do the same thing as above with different URL here. And if these two blocks of code can get me the ID or return that to an error, I'll set the ID here as a 0, so I can make error handling later. So now I'm already get the merchant ID and access token, then I can make a request to the Bukalapak API. Since the API limiting our request to the product by 16 items and multiplied the offset request by the limit, so we have to make some looping to our request. But first, I need to get the total product that the merchant have so I can get the exact value for the offset and the limits by total product. I think Bukalapak do the same thing to separate their data into the page. Luckily, Bukalapak API return the total page too if we call the request to the API. So I made another request first to the API just to get total items here. And find the meta tag and searching for total, so I can get the total product that the merchant have. And here I put exceptional only just in case if I didn't get the total data from the API. And then here I figured out how to get how much page or how much request that we need to get all the data. So I create export variable with list, so all the data in the dictionary can store in the list in this variable. Then finally, I can loop the request to get the data and store it in my export variable here as a dictionary and list. And then, if the scraping is done, I can save it to CSV file from the block code here. So here's the loop. I'm doing a request to the Bukalapak API with the limit and token that we provide here, and then return the data as a JSON, and then doing for loop again to append the product's details into the dictionary and list. I have conditional here because I found a bug that some merchant in Bukalapak didn't set ratings to their product, so it will return as error. And if I got the error, I returned it to string none. And I'm doing a page and offset increment here until the total data match and the text next the total that we set here. And since everything works great here, then I can make an input function with Flask framework. So here we are. I'm using a couple of libraries like Flask, Flask-Wtf, WTForms, and exactly my module that I created first. Then here I created an app, then created a configuration file. Because I make an input form, so I should have a secret key for my CSRF token in my form field. And here I created class input to handle the input from the form and validate the input. I'm using regular expression here to validate input, so we can only accept varchar without a space from input field. Then I created route here and set method because I only want a single page application. I set a method get and post there. Here I set the title page and the default data. And here is logical statements if the application get post and validated. So here's the name variable we get from the input form, and here's the merchant ID. I need that merchant ID here for my logical statement if we get the ID from the input, so it will validate the merchant name is right. After that, I call a script module to get the data based on the input name and store it to the data variable so I can return that on the page. And here's the else statement if the merchant ID not found. And this else statement here is a default call for our route. Then I create download route here so we can easily download the files from the web page. And here the last statement is to run the application. Now let's get to the template. Here I created two files, one for base template that I set input form, and the rest template to show the result table of our data. On this template, I'm using Bootstrap framework and jQuery data tables. And here is the conditional formatting. And here is the conditional statement for request status. And here's the input form. And we got CSRF token here. And the last thing here is configuration for our data tables. And in the result page, you can see in the result page, I'm just make a looping here from the data variable that I return to the app. Okay, I think that's all. And if you want to learn how to script, then you can download the source code on my GitHub page. I will put that link in the description. And thank you for watching.